everybody in the Radical Self-Care with Sound, Voice, and Vibration group and beyond. I am really pleased and honored and joyful to be able to share this conversation and spotlight Alyssa Martin. And I want to read a little bit about, there she is, and I want to read a little bit about her. And what my idea was for this group was to spotlight people, because there's so many wonderful people in the group. And you know how we all kind of get you get buried in Facebook, literally. So I thought that, I'd like to have help you stand out a little bit with these conversations, and also just help to benefit others with the conversations. That's always a big piece of it, right? We never know how we're going to move, touch, and inspire other people with our experiences. So Alyssa's from Pennsylvania. She's a PA native, and she is a vocal instructor and certified life coach who's passionate about helping her students develop the skill, courage, and self-awareness they need to express their true vocal power. She's been coaching since 2015 and is the recipient of the Bucks County Best Life Coach Award for 2 consecutive years. Woohoo! And she has been teaching private lessons for 7 years, and her studio opened in 2017. Good for you. As a singer herself who has overcome shyness, anxiety, and self-criticism, which is huge for anybody who embarks on any kind of career in singing. She teaches techniques and has studied and developed working through her own fears and obstacles. You trained alongside Pink. That is so freaking cool. What's Pink like?
It is freaking cool. Well, she was 10 years old and I was 17, and my teacher, Debbie Scarpel, hi Debbie, she was so instrumental in helping me get a big voice, out of me, which I use all the time now. And so Pink, Alicia, was this beautiful young little girl with an amazing voice. So when Debbie used to have our annual show where we all got to sing a song, like she really did stand out because she was such a youngin' and had this really nice, just like really pulled you in with this voice. And she was just, I always wanted her to sing. When we did hang out, I was like, sing this song, sing that song. And so, yeah, really cool voice. And and it's just a regular kind of nice person.
Oh, that's so great. How
We
great.
didn't stay in touch, though. So I can't tell you who she is today, but she's pretty awesome.
No free concert tickets, huh? Okay. Yeah, you
Nope.
can tell right away when a person has that particular talent, or
Mhm.
yeah, you can tell it right away when they're a little kid. It's immediate. As soon as you hear them, because I remember a kindergarten teacher telling my mom she should take voice lessons when she's older. You
That
know,
must
you,
have felt good.
well, I didn't know about it then, but yeah, but yes, it's just that I've heard that, you can really hear it immediately. So that is so cool. And I love that your personal style is a blend of power projecting, like Led Zeppelin, My Heart, one of my favorite groups, and Linda Ronstadt. And you also do a softer delivery, like in the style of Fleetwood Mac. Aretha Franklin. Ooh, girl, I got to hear you sing some Aretha. And Susan Tedeschi. And what I love is that you are in a band you're in a duo with your husband, Bucks County Crops. That's so cool. And a full rock band, The Shadow of the Mountain. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You hold additional certifications as a vocal yoga teacher, yoga for stress, anxiety management instructor, Heal Your Life, which is Louise Hayes group, right? Workshop leader, and Usui Reiki master teacher. Wow, those are fabulous credentials. And of course, I'm very interested in the vocal yoga aspect of what you're up to, because of the self-care aspect of that, plus all the stress and anxiety management as well. So wow, let's get to it then. This, it's amazing what we've all you just, you talk to people and you just don't know where they came from, what their experiences are. There's such a wealth of what we have to experience in this lifetime, and a lot of us, many of us, take full advantage of it, which or almost full advantage of it, which is wonderful because then we pass it on to others. So speaking of passing it on, share a little more if you like. Speak into anything I just said about your bio. Please expand on it if you
Yeah.
wish.
Yeah. I mean, what really stands out to me, what I've been thinking a lot about lately as I try to document some of the things that I've been teaching like over and over, and they're things that, helped me survive this crazy world. Right? So like when you were touching on the in the bio about anxiety and shyness, I mean, yeah, like huge. Like when I was going through them, I always had like a hopeful spirit in the background, but like sometimes it's just like, how the heck, like, do I survive this? Like, how do I, um, it was debilitating sometimes. And so the things that I've sifted and sorted through in life and that have become dear to me because they worked, those are the things that I'm so passionate about. And I'm a believer, yes, you can be on stage even when you can't even, you want to keep your back to the crowd. Fine, start out that way. I did. You know, you want to sit down on the stage and hold hands with your best friend because you're just like terrified. Do it. I did it. Um, and then like crying before it happened too, like before coming on stage and just being like, even like a little coffee house. Actually, the more intimate with like people looking at you is so much energy to hold. But I'm a believer that we can do it, and that because I've done it. I've cried right before going on stage to be like, I can't. Okay. And so that's with the anxiety and the shyness. And then finding Louise Hay's work, just because, I don't believe that we should have like one guru or that anybody, we should follow implicitly. I mean, I'm actually the opposite. I believe like, hey, Louise works for me, but and her methodologies were made so much sense and relieved me like honey to my soul. But if it doesn't work for someone else, good. Go find out what does. Like that's the bottom line. But because her stuff, not but, and because her stuff worked for me so well, I'm, I'm really passionate about sharing that. And it's like one of her biggest messages to me was really to the self-love stuff. And you're talking about that radical self-care theme. And I think that's where um, it's so important to me growing up in a strict religion. And I know it doesn't do the same things as it did to me, to everybody, right? So just speaking from my own experience, I'm not here to condemn anything that works for anybody else, but for me, that high control and telling you like your heart is deceitful, so rely on your understand, like don't rely on your own understanding, like all this stuff took me outside of myself, and really not only could I not uh, uh, hear my own inner voice, like I didn't know, like, oh, where do you want to eat? I don't know, what do you want to do? And honestly, you could be like, no, 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 really, what are you hungry for? I don't know. I can't tell you what I'm hungry for. You tell me and I'll tell you if I hate it. Like
Yeah,
that.
or right, or you're afraid to even say something as simple as, where are we going to go for dinner?
Couldn't do it.
What's the fear,
Couldn't do it.
right? The fear of reprisal, right? Of something, right?
I'm gonna be wrong. I'm gonna be
Conditioned.
wrong.
You're going to
You're
be
gonna tell me you want it this way anyway. Well, why go through all
right.
the why go through all the back and forth? Why don't you just take the decision and I'll just get in the passenger seat, and so of course with like I call it my hell no and the hell yes, those things I knew. Like, look, I didn't eat meat from a young age. That's a hell no for me, just because like, you know, it is about the animals. It's not a health thing, but it just grosses me out. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but for me, I can't, like, that's a hell no. Um, then there's hell yes, which is like, do you want to go see Greg Allman in concert? Do you want to see Hart in concert? Yeah, I'm not going to ask you the date. I'm not going to ask you, like, how much is the ticket? I'm going to be like, when, where, like, let's do it. So those things I was aware of, and I think those were the breadcrumbs into the deeper, like more nebulous gray areas. But through her work and like just being able to say, you know what, you do have intuition. I do? Yeah, you do. And how do you develop it? Well, you listen to yourself. What?
What a novel idea. Yeah, well, that's what groups, I mean, a lot of organizations, okay? Organizations, I think, prey on some organizations, big organizations, some prey on people's inability to listen to themselves, and not only their inability, they have the ability, they just have never been taught. And I think that if you haven't been taught something, and that you haven't explored that intuition aspect of yourself, and then you have this group or your family, whoever, telling you that, oh no, don't listen to yourself, that's bad, you're bad and wrong because let's flagellate a little, self-flagellate, you're a sinner, right? You can't possibly know what's good for you and what's right from wrong. You need somebody else to tell you that, this group or a book or whatever. What chance do you have except to move through, as you have done over decades of healing from this? As we met a while back, Alyssa and I, and we were talking about this, but it was like a cult-like, really, setting. And that's what they do. They take away your personal power. They make you doubt yourself. It's like being gaslighted, right? In the extreme.
Yep.
So for you to have come through that, to be able to be a teacher, a coach, doing all these things, all these workshops, or doing all this self-empowerment work, empowering others, that kind of like, it was like trial by fire for you, right? It's trial by fire for a lot of us to come through that and to rise like the phoenix, to this beautiful, it doesn't mean you don't still have your shit, right? I mean,
Oh my
or
gosh,
your
yeah.
doubts. No,
Yeah.
we all still have it. It's just you don't let it stop you, just like you were bawling and crying before you went on stage. You
Yeah.
didn't, but you did it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, and I
don't
think
let
that
it stop.
somehow I was able to, like, if I analyze, like, why, so what made me do it? And then I do analyze these because I do have young ones that I coach, or they don't have to be young ones. They just have to be ones that were in a similar place, right? Any age. And they're like, they have a lovely voice. They really enjoy singing. Maybe I'm, teaching them some techniques and things. Um, I do analyze, like, what got me to say F it and go and do it anyway. Like, what was that? And I think, like, there's a certain amount of pressure. Like, you signed up, do it. Yeah. Like, don't don't let us down type of thing. But then there was also, because I know I could have walked away at any time and been like, never mind. But I knew there was something inside me that was like, you love this. You love this so much. Like, isn't the the pain of it worth it? And I would be like, I guess let's try. Let's see. Let's see, you know? And it is, at least in my case, you know.
Yeah, I no, I can, I'm laughing because I can't tell you how many times before I've gone on stage, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell was I thinking? What am I doing here? You know? And then as soon as you get out on stage and oops and start singing, I have a bucket under here because it was I didn't want to have a I'm feeding the birds today and
Oh
of
my
course I
God,
had
this is so funny. You are so,
I
I
feed
just
a
love
lot
you.
of birds. I feed a lot of birds. But I had that bucket hanging behind me and I'm like, well that doesn't look very aesthetic. But anyway,
I don't think we saw it, but now we do. Great. That's awesome.
I kicked the bucket. So yeah, yeah. So there's that. But that's a whole nother level, right? I mean, because that's people that are called to share their voices in so many ways, whether it be speaking or singing. There is a very healthy terror associated with that, a very very deep rooted, deep seated fear of exposing yourself because it's extremely exposed art form and it's
Oh, it is so
exposed. Public
bad.
speaking is very exposed, uh, and it's not for everyone, and it doesn't have to be, but I think even just using your voice on your own, like even just as I'm working, I'm sure you are too, you work with some of the practices of vocal toning or using your voice in like with the vocal yoga, which I'd love to talk to you about
Yeah.
next. But that even that sitting by yourself and making sound can be very difficult for people, very confronting. So let's speak to that a little bit about your how you help people with your coaching, with the vocal yoga, if those two are connected.
Yeah, the vocal yoga is something I've been looking at for a few years. I love yoga and love vocals, obviously, and I just actually got certified in it last June, and so I do use a bit of it. It's kind of like its own workshop. And I have one coming up in Warminster at Airmid in February. But I am able to weave some of it into our lessons and the coaching, which is the idea that Heather Lyle created this specific program that I took. And her idea was that we can get deeper into the poses with our voice and um like deeper into our healing with our voice, and then also while we're in a pose, like our voice can help release like the energy and things. So it's actually it like makes so much sense to me. The more I learn about it, like the more I learn, the more convinced I am. And I think when I was younger, I felt like my voice was um mm, like a fun thing. Like, and it is, but I I didn't fully appreciate all the things that resonate within your body, uh that it is vibration and how much vibration heals, obviously your work. That wasn't on my mind. I was self-soothing with it all the time. But so with Heather Lyle, it's actually pretty comical sometimes. Like if you're deep in a lunge and you know how like, oh, we're tight here. A lot of us are sitting all day or whatever. So when we're stretching out this area, if you're like, you probably have an inner groan that you're not letting out, right? It's probably like, oh God. So it's like her idea is to allow that out, and it might be a groan, but it also might be, what if we make it an animal sound, or what if we make it a low sound, because the low sound will help us get low into the pelvic floor and get like that nice and stretched out. Whereas maybe if we're in, let's say our head is on the ground, facing the ground towards like a down dog or in child's pose, it might be, you know, woo, because we're in a head voice there. So now it just really puts you in touch with where are you feeling the sound and like how many different sounds you can make. And in the last class I held of it, um, one of the girls said, I've never heard my voice do that before. I've never
Yeah.
known that I could go that low and right, they make these sounds and
Yep.
oh, permission to make sound, yes. So cool.
Absolutely. You're singing my song for sure. It's exactly what, what I do, the work I do with somatic movement, coupling that with sound, with organic sounding, primal sounding. It is so freeing. And oh my God, don't you wish? I mean, I don't know how, if you started out, train as a trained singer, right? Don't you wish that you had learned this first before you did the traditional classical training, I was trained classically. So there's a certain, you know, framework. It's almost like very, it can be very, I don't know. It can
Proper?
sort of,
Is it
yeah.
proper? I
Well,
don't
it can
have
shut you. It kind of like can. You're dealing with another person's idea of what your voice should sound like, and with the framework of the classical genre, with the pedagogy, the vocal pedagogy of the classical genre, and it can be very strict and very a little confining, but there's a certain freedom to it once you learn it. But anyway, I still wish that I had known more about this
mm,
with using my voice in a more organic way, with intuitive singing, just letting it go, because it's so hard for me now. Even though I've been doing it now for 7 years, it still feels a little confronting for me to just let what wants to come out, and not, I guess
style.
people would say you're channeling, but it's in me, really, I guess, or whatever. I don't know where it's coming from, but people always ask me, what are you singing? What language is that? And I'm like, I, I, I don't.
I
um,
love that because to hear that from you, that you like still have areas that you want to grow in, like that, you know what I mean? That you still have doors you want to open in that inside yourself for that. That is so um gratifying to hear because I, even though I didn't go through classical singing, I very much, again, the shyness. I have no doubt that my teacher would have taught me more had I asked questions. I couldn't. I just couldn't talk to her. I couldn't ask questions. So she was probably like, how do I unlock this girl? You know? And so no, because I couldn't get into my body at all. So yeah, like I don't know that the child that I was or the teenager that I was would have been like, "Oh yeah, let's make animal sounds." I would have probably been like, "Get me out of here." Like I'm so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah,
But
but absolutely. No, absolutely. Some of the teenagers that I've taught, that my husband still teaches for piano, they're, especially the 12, 13-year-old girls, there's no way. No way. That was
not
good. That
unless
would,
there's somebody else does it, right? And then we can all do it together or
with their
whatever.
girlfriends, maybe not at a lesson, though. No. But yeah, you're right, because now that I'm thinking about it, you're absolutely right, Alyssa. It's taken me, to be in my 60s to like kind of get over myself, and just
I
be fully
agree. I'm
self-expressed, right?
still trying to get over myself. I love it.
Oh, yeah, it's just kind of like, what's the point in holding back? Why hold back? And I think our voices are the first step to use as a tool to open up the rest of us, to open
So cool.
what resides here. Yeah.
Mm.
And so do you have any specific exercises that you use that you could share with the group that might be helpful for them if they want to try out some of this? Either it's vocal yoga or just something simple, that you've used with
Yeah.
your students and clients.
One of the things that I think is so cool is to let out a shh. So, if let's say we are doing We're warming up our neck, right? So we can just be like, normally without your sound, maybe you're even doing it like with yoga. So you're using your breath and you're inhaling forward, exhaling to the right, right? Inhaling forward, twist. But now try it with a shh, like so, like you're twisting out the sound, right? So and then inhale forward. And already I feel like a cleansing and like a kind of like and
Yeah.
even with our twist, so if we're doing like any kind of twist, we can twist that out. Or if we want to get into some more sound with it, we can do a sh into an O. So it would be like a show. So it would be like show.
Mm.
And just see,
Mm.
I know it sounds weird. I know it looks weird.
Mm.
If you try it and then see what it feels like, show. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't.
No, that's that. No, it works. So you don't have to convince me you're preaching to the choir, as they say. But it's interesting. There's I'm wondering if because there are different. There are you probably heard of the six. Is it six or seven Chinese sounds from traditional Chinese medicine that correspond to your organ systems? Yeah, I actually have a video on that. And sh is the the hiss. The hiss is the lung, but might be the liver or the spleen. I'm not sure. Is the heart. So you're right on. You're right
Oh
on
my
track.
God,
You're right on track. You got to look up what sh is.
I need to marry those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. These are beautiful, and this is thousands of years old. Thousands of years old. That can help us. Just breathing. Yeah, you don't even have to make sound. Vocal sound. You just shh. And the intention of releasing, right? Because what are you letting out with air? There's a release feeling whenever you exhale. So just have that sense. Beautiful. That's a great exercise. Thank you for that. Love it.
Yeah. And if
Love
you want
it.
to try another one, this is okay. So, we try to be all positive and light workers and, right, right. So when do we get to complain? Like in our journals or never, right? So this one I love when Heather showed us. So basically, let's say you're in child's pose, your arms out, and then try a low mama cat groan, like wow, and just let it out. I was like, oh my gosh, I can complain now, like in that voice, just like, oh,
Hmm.
felt
Yeah.
amazing.
This book, you've got to get this book, girlfriend.
I don't have this one.
Oh, you got to get it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
This is by Vicky Dodge. I can't tell you enough about her, but she works with her voice. She's probably in her 80s. Amazing, amazing woman. And I've been working with her individually, she does sessions over the phone. She's on the West Coast. And she was working with me with my back. When I was lying in June, I was out for a week, couldn't move for a week. I was in bed. And I was working with her on the phone, and she was taking me through just being aware of my body and all the little different moves it makes and making sound with those little moves, very gently trying to coax my body into. I mean, we don't have to make sounds, right? Where's the complaining? That's why I love the F word. Fuck. It's just, there's something so freeing about that word. It has the
I
K,
might have to
has
work
the
that into my next workshop. Like, everybody. Yes,
it's so good, right? Feels
it's
so
so
good. But to just make those little sounds, those, like you say, those little complaining sounds. She calls that emptying.
oh my God, I love it.
Emptying. Yeah, you're gonna. Oh, you would eat this book up. You have got to get this book, Healing Through Sound, Vicky
Yes.
Dodd, Dodd. It's like my Bible. I have it, dog-eared and highlighted all over the place. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
but her story is amazing too. Of course, she grew up. She grew up, I think, in not in Appalachia, but some place like that, with a lot of old folklore that she learned. But it was
Ooh.
also a lot of trauma from alcoholism and abuse too. So she has quite an interesting story. And anyway, but yes, to complain, we need to do that. Because otherwise it stays in our body and it becomes illness. It stays in there, and we need to get it out. That's what I do when I go do grounding outside. I ask the earth, "Can I please give this to you, please?" you
I
know.
love that practice.
Yeah, and then I just start whatever wants to come out. Thank God I have a big backyard, you know.
that is so amazing because it like really
Yeah.
brings us back to the kids, like when the kids are gonna
Yes.
scream and they're gonna whine and they're gonna cry and couple minutes later they might be totally fine. Uh because
Yes.
they got it out.
And they know how to do this instinctively. This is
Yeah.
intrinsic. This is our God given birthright to use our voice for health and wholeness and self care.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Absolutely.
actually have to, right? It's like so
Yeah.
funny to I love the example of when you hit your elbow, you grab it like your little self Reiki, and then ow or fuck, whatever comes out, right? Right? You're gonna let something out. And in the case that you can't because you're around other people or you're in a meeting and whatever it is, right? So, and they did studies that when people let the sound out, they were more resilient. There was a study about people with putting their hands in ice water, and like one of the control groups wasn't allowed to say anything. The other group was allowed to have someone else like recorded sounds of someone going like ah, and the group that was allowed to actually sound themselves could keep it in there the longest, in the ice water the longest. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Fascinating.
We
I
need it.
love I love these studies. Yeah, there's also it brings to mind another study. They did had a control group, two groups. One group was just doing singing for fun, just for fun, which is fine. Like you were saying, when I was younger, I used to think my voice was for fun, and it is, right? And then they did another group who were singing with intention, like more like chanting, singing. And what they first studied were the length of the telomeres, which are the very ends of the DNA, and they are an indicator of your health and longevity. And what they found in the group that was just doing the fun singing, no change. The group that was doing intentional chanting, the telomeres were growing back, growing longer. I don't know how they figured that out, but like maybe blood work or something. But yeah, isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
so
those tests too.
there's so much more to this than we know.
Yeah.
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 And it's yeah, I feel like people like you and I and many others are here to give other people permission to use it, to start exploring and experimenting with it. And yeah, it's kind of tell people just use this like your laboratory. This is your laboratory.
It is, and it is an experiment, right? Because something that worked for me may not exactly work for you, but you can try it and it might open up something else. It just opens up what maybe does work. And I think intention is a lot, like you were saying, I really had a strong desire in me to sing and share that even though despite myself, really, actually, right? Like I loved it so much that the desire like overrode 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 the fear at some point. And I just had to that but there was like there must have been some, I don't know if it's in my DNA or what, but some kind of coding that was like voice. Like your life is going to be all about voice because you're not going to be able to speak up for yourself and it's going to get you in trouble and you're going to regret it and you're going to learn how to use your voice. You're going to want to sing and you're not going to be able to. And then you're going to regret it. And then so you're going to fight and learn how to use it, learn how to be on stage. You're going to learn these things because speaking your truth, even like one-on-one in a very intimate relationship that was a challenge.
That's the hardest. That's the hardest.
Right. Yeah.
To me, that's the hardest. Yeah. Especially a romantic relationship.
Yeah. Oh, so much. Speaking to authority, all of it. I feel like that was like if you like put a banner over my life, it would be like voice, how to hear your inner voice, how to, like that's my whole work on this planet, but yeah, so that's the hardest, you said, is with the ones you love, your intimate partners.
Yeah, because you think about the chakras, you think about, we're working through, this is another beautiful book. I'm giving you more book ideas. I mean, I gave Alyssa a bunch of I gave her a stack of my, all my books from voice teaching. We met and I exchanged and gave those to her. So I'm giving her so many books here, but this is another one. We're going through this book, in the group, in the Facebook group, Prayers of Honoring Voice by Pixie Lighthorse. And, incredible, beautiful, beautiful. You got to get it. You probably love it for your students too. But she talks about the precarious positioning of the throat chakra in between the heart and the crown and brow, the higher chakras, she said there's a great many detours that take place from your heart to your throat.
Oh my God.
And coming out your mouth, your voice is literally hijacked on the way from here to here. It's like hijacked, and then of course there's all the monkey mind, right? So it's a lifelong calling, a lifelong process of constantly, saying, you get in a situation and you're like, why didn't I speak up for myself? Why did I say that? I sound like I just did that the other day with a gal who wanted to hire me to do a sound bath. And I just made up my mind. I said, I got to charge a certain amount, $400. It does, they don't, I bring everything. I bring the kitchen sink. So it's a huge, big process. I don't just come with 3 or 4 bowls. I'm a musician, so I like to have instruments anyway, but it's a big, huge thing, but I give them a nice experience. And, for you to own your own worth, right? And to speak it. Yeah, sure. And it doesn't matter if you think it's too much, then don't hire me, but the excuses I was making in this phone call, just trying to justify the price, and I get off the phone and I'm like, what the fuck did I just do again? This is unbelievable. I'm still doing it. So I had to forgive myself, right? Yes. For that, and move on and say, no, next time I'm going to do better. This is my price, period.
It's in the lab, right? Like you tried it out in the lab the one way. You didn't like it. So now you're going to try. This is the right? Like I totally get that. I totally get that.
Funny, right? And, it doesn't matter how old you are or how many times you've done it. I think it's still, there's, especially surrounding money, and self-worth, especially if you have a service. It's very difficult for people to stand in their power about that. And, but it gets easier. Each time you just have to keep throwing off throw off the shit, throw off those overlays of I'm not worth it, what am I doing? Who do I think I am? All that imposter syndrome crap.
It is. And I think like my own assessment of that is when you're a sensitive soul, and us creative types usually are, in touch with those, and I don't mean sensitive as far as too sensitive or like how that's usually, but just like, we really feel things and think about things and take our time with things. I feel like maybe sometimes we shop with someone else's wallet, or we're just like thinking about like all these factors, and maybe, you know, the worth is tied into that somehow with can I take something and leave them with less? I mean, forget you're giving them such a service, right? Yeah, it is. The divine law of compensation helped me out on that one too. And I
Divine law
like
of compensation. I like that.
that's a Marianne Williamson book. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
just kind of like, look, you're keeping it in circulation. Like and if you gave it for free, something's off. Like something's off, and you're gonna feel it, or they're gonna feel like it's not. Yeah,
And
keep it.
and there are some people that believe in that too. Especially with Reiki, I believe there's some people that believe you should not charge for Reiki. I've got
Mm,
I've gotten that, heard that before. I don't do Reiki myself, but I was collaborating. I am still collaborating with a Reiki practitioner once a month, and she was shaming me. She sent me an email, ripping me a new one, saying we shouldn't be charging, and you're blah blah blah
mm.
blah 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 blah. Yeah, it was pretty. It was like wow,
Well, there's that word should, right? Like, and that is
right?
like another teaching of Louise as well. I'm sure she inherited it from other people that taught it to her. But the idea that when like the should or ought is just like a trap for being wrong. Either you're going to be wrong now, or you're wrong, you're telling someone else they're wrong, you're going to be wrong later. You should do this or you shouldn't do that. And it's like, there's some obvious ones with murder and whatnot. But when it's talking about something like sharing your gift, and should you charge for it, and then shitting on someone else, why not check in with who you are and what
Mm.
you want to do rather than tell someone else? It feels so much better. What was it I heard? I was at a yoga retreat this last weekend, and Rolf Gates was speaking, and he said something that was beautiful, and I'll probably butcher it, but it was more like, you know, if I let you be you, the more that I can like let off of that, I'm actually freer to be more me. And like my energy is off of you and now onto me, and
Mm.
like just um letting that thrive. But the more I hold on to what you should, and you shouldn't have done that, and like then I'm like now gripping and tied on to that, and I can't even, like I need to clear that thought, right? Like so I thought that was really beautiful. And when we were preparing to get on this call, I love what you said to me. You're like, just be you. Just be you. Like the more you, the better it is. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Right? I mean, really, is there anything better you could hear from someone? Like the more you that
No,
you are, bring it. I'm like,
bring it
oh,
all,
thank you for
really.
that, Ruth. Thank
No,
you.
gosh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Because I think that's a challenge, is, going back to radical self-care. I mean, the more allowing yourself to be more you. How radical is that? And how difficult can that be? To take, I talk about the layers, the personnel layers that we have, the overlays that we all take on through life that are not ours. To be able to recognize it when it is not ours and release that, and so you can be more you. Growing up in an alcoholic family dynamic, of course, the word codependent comes to mind, and enabling, and like you say, it's horrendous. You're so wrapped up in what the others are doing, what the other person is doing in your family, or what the others, and that there's no room for you in there, right? And I know you came from a pretty difficult background in regard to not necessarily alcoholism, but the that religious sort of what would you call it? I don't know.
Control. I call it.
Control. Yeah, for lack of a better word, control. Yeah, yeah. To not be who you're meant to be, right?
Oh
You're
man.
the fullness of who you are.
Yeah, it was really like I have great parents and so I'm in a great family, so I'm lucky for that. It's just that the concept or the religion that was I took it to heart. Again, I'm sensitive, so I sat in there soaking up everything from, inside the womb all the way through my childhood, all the way through my teens. And I really, really took it to heart. So I know some people can grow up in the same situation and be like, what? That bothered you? Like, yes. Like,
Yeah,
so
it's everyone's different.
everyone is. Yeah.
People can thrive under all sorts of conditions. It all depends upon your constitution, and just because you can't doesn't mean you're bad and wrong. It just means that it's not for you.
Yep.
It goes against, it's incongruent with who you are. It was not incongruence. And that's a
Oh,
big piece, right? Of knowing when something matches as a good vibrational match for us and when
yep.
something is not,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Learning that discernment. But that all circles back around to what we were talking about before, which is learning intuition, what you were talking about, how you had to learn, oh, I can listen to myself. Wow. you
And that
know?
permission was just like,
Yep.
I mean, even if you had met me as a kid and been like, you have permission to be yourself, I would have been so indoctrinated in that point. I would have been like, oh, that's a shame that she thinks that's not acceptable to God. But, you know, maybe her heart will soften and maybe she'll learn the true way eventually. Like you could, like, life had to teach me.
Yeah.
Life had to teach me. No one teacher could have gotten it through to me. No
Right.
way. No way. I
Wow.
was so heavily indoctrinated. I will say that is one of my biggest freedoms that I can give myself now is let let myself be me. And when I was assisting with the Heal Your Life trainings, so a group of people would come in for the week and get this wonderful deep healing training, and like they're going through the exercises themselves because how can you teach what you didn't go through? And so like they would have like all these moments and like crying and getting things out and whoa, like just it was a magical week. And at the end of the week they would be like, a lot of them would be like, how am I going to go home to, like, now I have to go back to work and go back to my family and da 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 and like be this other person. And I'm like, or do you? Like, like, how much of this can you take with you? Like the you that you found, basically, not, obligation to do the teachings or anything, but like what you found, like, why not? So that was always my challenge at the end of the week is like, how much will you let yourself be you? Because you're in charge of that. So,
Yeah, because it seems like it's very easy to go back into the old way of being. I know I've done that when I've done a couple of workshops and I did the Landmark Forum,
mm,
and very impacting 3 days for me. But yeah, the feeling of just freedom after those experiences, and then you gradually start going back, but you're still maintaining it. It's not like you haven't shifted. You have shifted,
yeah,
and you are
yes,
carrying that through. It's very difficult to be in the world
it is.
and not of it as. Jesus is ascribed to have said. That was, I think that's one of the best quotes ever. Be in the world, not of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one.
Because you are, yeah, you're part of the divine. You are the divine. And
Mm.
nothing can take that away from us. Nothing.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
It's been wonderful talking to you today.
You too.
What a joy. And I wanted to also do a little plug. I don't know if you sell, do you sell these beautiful
Oh my
online,
God.
these beautiful
Yes,
prayer?
I don't sell them online, but I do sell them. So yeah, you can message
Well,
me.
Alyssa made me this beautiful prayer beads.
Yeah.
Has a gorgeous little hand there, has a beautiful musical note on the one end, and I thought it was beautiful. And I have it hanging up on my jewelry box so I can see it every day, and I think about you, and I
Oh,
love it. I love it. And that was so I
I
wanted to
love
give you
it.
a little plug. That was just a part of another aspect of you being you with your creativity, right?
Yeah, I love to make jewelry and I love to make those bead strands because I just love to touch rocks. And so if I'm touching the beads, just that tactile sensation. I'm a big fidgeter, so if I'm gonna do some chanting, I want something to fidget with.
Yeah, and you're getting the energy from the crystals too
Yeah,
and the rocks. Absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. What a
Thank
joy
you. Thank you
again.
so much.
Thank you. I know our listeners are going to really enjoy this conversation
Aw,
and
yay.
hope we will talk soon again.
Yeah, for sure.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much.